Hello, everyone. My name is Rosan Sashida, and I'm speaking to you from the Rock Lab in Mexico City. The Rock Lab is a musical instrument boutique and creative space dedicated to musicians, songwriters, and artists who care about sound, craftsmanship, and musical expression. Beyond being a store, it's a place where artists meet, record, perform, and share ideas. A space built around the belief that instruments are not just tools, but extensions of identity and creativity. Today, we're honored to host a conversation that connects music, artistry, and spirituality. Our guest today is Larry Geller. Larry Geller is widely known as Elvis Presley's personal hairstylist beginning in the mid 60s. But his role in Elvis's life went far beyond that. He became one of Elvis's closest friends, a spiritual companion, and someone who shared with him a deep interest in philosophy, spirituality, and personal growth during some of the most transformative years of Elvis's life and career. Larry, thank you so much for being with us today. It's truly an honor to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, Rosanna. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to speak about Elvis Presley, the greatest star. And he left us almost 50 years ago, and we're still talking about him. His influence on music and culture are extraordinary, and they have a lot of meaning. And so many stars today, like Bruce Springsteen and the Beatles and Bob Dylan, they all started because of Elvis. They all picked up a guitar and they told Elvis this. And later, as we're talking, I want to tell you uh, the night the Beatles came to meet Elvis, because some very interesting things happened. At any rate, I grew up in Southern California, in the Hollywood area. And when I was in high school, in the mid 50s, Elvis came on the scene like a meteor racing across the sky. And all of a sudden, everything changed. Music, style. I became a major Elvis fan right off the bat. I knew every song, every lyric. And
Did you
one
have a favorite album or favorite song back then?
it changes every day. He recorded so many songs, over 700, and he rockabilly, gospel, rock and roll, country, and every style of music. So one day I love one song, and another day another song. It just changes. So one afternoon, someone told us that Elvis Presley is coming to Los Angeles for a rock concert, and we didn't know what that meant. Now, that might sound strange to you, but in those days, that didn't exist. That was the very first rock concert. So we just knew that we had to meet Elvis. We're going to go and we're going to watch him, and we'll get into the auditorium. And we were so naive, we didn't even buy tickets. We thought someone would invite us to go in with them. We didn't know. We were kids. We get
Around
to the
what year was this? Do you remember?
1957.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we get to the auditorium, thousands of people, mostly teenagers, coming in from everywhere. And the excitement was in the air. And before we knew it, everyone was in the auditorium. And other people like us that didn't have tickets were looking at each other like, oh, wait a minute, what are we going to do? Now, we knew that auditorium because they used to have the auto show, the ice capades, and different events. So we knew the building. So we walked to the end of it and tried to yank open a door and sneak in, but it didn't work. It didn't work. Then we went to the very far end of the building. And I said to my friends, I said, look, you guys, there he is. There's Elvis. And Elvis is leaning against a car, like this with a bunch of bodyguards. And I said, come on, let's go meet him. And when I looked at my buddies, they froze. They were petrified. And I said, well, I'm going, you guys, I'm going. And I ran up to Elvis. And I got up to him and I looked up at that face, the hair, the sideburns, and I was very, very nervous, and he knew I was. And he smiled and he said, hi, I'm Elvis Presley. And I said, hi, Elvis, hi. I started to stutter. My name's Larry Geller, and it's so great to meet you. And the minute I said that, one of his people said, Elvis, you're on, man, you're on. They want you now. Come on, let's go. And Elvis very slowly, he said, all right. He said, all right, kid, you heard what they said. I got to go. Talk to you some other time. And he walked off.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, wow. Not only did I see Elvis, I met him and he shook my hand, you know. It was a seminal moment in my life.
That's
Okay.
incredible.
A couple months, what? I'm sorry.
When you became friends with him later in life, did you ever tell him about this story?
No, I never did. I didn't.
Okay.
So a couple of months later, I graduate high school. I enter college in Los Angeles City College. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I only took 2 or 3 units. I went to school maybe twice a week for an hour each day. And my best friend, Christian, said to me, Larry, what are you doing? What are you going to do with your life? What do you want to become? And I said, I don't know. I'm going to college. I'm reading a lot of spiritual books. And I don't know. He said, well, look, you're very artistic. You need something to make money and to live. Why don't you think of becoming a hairstylist for women? You can get a job in Beverly Hills. You'll make money. You'll meet some girls. And I thought, all right, that is a good idea. I dropped out of college. I got my license. And another man by the name of Jay Sebring. I don't know if you know that name.
No, doesn't sound familiar.
Well, about 3 or 4 years ago, Quentin Tarantino made a movie called with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio about Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It won the Oscar.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of it was about this man, Jay Sebring. Because when I met Jay, he said to me, I'm opening the very first salon for men in America. Men went to barbershops for like 50 cents, 75 cents. He said, we're going to charge $10. We're going to shampoo the hair. And men never did anything like that. This is 1960.
Wow.
So we opened a salon, and immediately people came from everywhere. We're doing Frank Sinatra, Marlon Brando, Paul Newman, every star in Hollywood, in movies, television. I was doing Roy Orbison's hair, Glenn Campbell. I had a great clientele. About 3 or 4 years later, I get a phone call and at the salon, and I pick up the phone, and on the other end, a voice says to me, Larry, I'm sitting here with Elvis Presley. In a minute, I heard that name. Because Elvis then was the celebrity of celebrities.
Of course.
Not only the king of rock and roll, but a movie star. Both. I mean, this is unheard of. He said, he wants to know if you'd like to come up to his home here in Bel Air, which is right next to Beverly Hills, and take care of his hair. I said, yeah, I'd love to. So they told me where to go. I packed my bags and I'm running out the salon to go. And the receptionist said, Larry, Peter Sellers is on the phone. He wants you right now. I said, you tell Peter I'll call him. I didn't care who it was. I'm going to do Elvis's hair. So I go up to the house, and the minute I get to his street, I know where his house is because there were tons of fans. And as you and I are talking right now, Rosanna, fans are at Graceland. It hasn't stopped. After all these years, fans are always where Elvis is. Because as we know, he's buried at Graceland, right? At any rate, I walk into the house, I'm looking around, and I see Elvis sitting with a bunch of guys at a table. He said, I'll be right with you, man. I'll be right with you. And someone takes me in the living room and the den. And about 1 minute later, here comes Elvis with that same energy, that same glow, that same beauty. And he walks up to me and he smiles and he says, hi, I'm Elvis Presley. I'm having a flashback. I'm, hi, Elvis, that was 8 years earlier.
Yeah. And that energy that you mentioned,
Yes.
Was it really palpable to you? Was it really like different than most people?
Overwhelming. I've been with every major star in Hollywood. Elvis was a notch above the rest.
Wow.
There was something, if he walked into a room, he was the only person in the room. He sucked the air out of the room. This man was something. He had a spiritual quality, and everyone knew it. So he said, come on, man, we'll go into my bathroom. You take care of my hair. So we go into his bathroom. He sits down in front of a long marble ledge and a mirror. And I put my stuff around him, I drape him. And he said, Larry, I'm right in the middle of a movie called Roustabout. So you can't cut too much off, I said, Elvis, don't you worry. I know exactly what to do. He said, okay, I'm leaving the driving to you. So I started to do his hair. And I'm looking in them, and Elvis doesn't say a word.
Were you nervous?
So nervous. But I rely on my craft and my ability to create a hairstyle. So I'm grounded in that, but I'm very, very cautious because I can't mess up here. This man's making a movie. This is Elvis Presley, the biggest star in the world. And I'm thinking to myself, how did you get in Elvis Presley's bathroom? So it took me about maybe 35, 40 minutes. I blow dry it. I spray it. And I'm saying, like in the mirror, how do you like it, Elvis? He says, great, great, great. And he spun around in the chair and he put his finger right in my face. Who are you? Who are you, Larry? What are you really all about? What are you really into? I was stunned. I didn't expect anything like that. And I said, well, it's hard to stutter. Elvis, look, you know what I do for a living. And there's a lot of celebrities. I go to the studio sometimes, and I love what I do. This is my work. But I hear you, man. I hear you. I know what you're saying to me. And to really answer your question, I'm searching for God. I'm searching for the truth. Elvis, why are we here? Why are we born? What is this life? Why should there be life at all? Why should there be a universe? Why isn't there nothing? What happens to us when we die? What is this life, Elvis? I read a lot of books, spiritual books, philosophy books, books on spiritual growth. I don't care if they're ancient or modern, Eastern or Western. I'm absorbing everything I can. And now, Rosanna, I'm getting very, very nervous. And I said, and self-conscious. And I said, Elvis, wait a minute. I know who you are. You're Elvis Presley. You're the biggest star on planet Earth. this probably sounds corny to you. He goes, whoa, man, wait a minute. Larry, you have no idea how I need to hear what you have to say. Keep on talking, man. Tell me more. Tell me about these books. And this conversation went on for a couple of hours. And Elvis said to me, man, Larry, I've always wondered why was I, and he went like this, why was I plucked out of all the millions and millions of lives to become Elvis Presley? He said, do you know that I have a twin brother? I said, yeah, Elvis, I do know. I have twin sisters, and they told me all about that. They're huge fans of yours, like me. And he said, his name is Jesse Garin, and he was stillborn. He didn't make it. And I always wondered what would have happened if he would have survived and I didn't. Would it be Jesse Garin Presley, the star? What if we both would have made it? Would you be sitting here today with Jesse and Elvis doing their hair? Larry, I have so many questions, like the things you're talking about. And I'm starting to realize I've been here almost 2.5, 3 hours. And I know Peter Sellers, my life is waiting for me out there. And I said, Elvis, look, Peter Sellers is waiting. I got to get back to the salon. And he said, Peter Sellers, he's my favorite. He's a comedic genius. And Elvis started to imitate him. At any rate, he said, look, I've got a great idea. Go back to your salon right now and you tell Jay Sebring that you're quitting, you're giving him your clientele, and you work because you're going to be working with Elvis Presley full time. What do you think? Rosanna, I didn't have to think. It was a major, major life decision that I had to make on the spot. But it was so right, and I knew it. This is Elvis, and we connected. And it's like, when you meet someone, you kind of know right away. People click. You don't think, gee, I wonder if, I wonder, and maybe, and it's hey, yeah, and that's what happened. He said, Larry, you be at Paramount Studios tomorrow morning, 8:00, and bring me some of those books you're talking about. So what he was asking me was really two questions. One, do you want to be with me and work for me? And be in charge and responsible for the likeness and the image of Elvis Presley, the movie star, the king of rock and roll. But what he was really saying was something that much more significant to me. Bring me books. Let's talk, Larry. Show me what you know. Let's grow together. And that's what happened. And over the years, I made 10 movies with Elvis. And when Elvis passed away, I gave him a book a couple of hours before that happened. And Elvis died reading a book that I gave him. And over the years, we amassed a profound library.
Can you remind me the name of that book? The last
The
book?
name of that book, and by the way, it's on my website, larrygeller.com. It's on the page with you've been there. You know all the books that I show. It's on there, and it's called The Scientific Search for the Face of Jesus. It's a blue book.
Right. Yeah.
You'll see it. If you go there, you'll see it right away. You can get it on Amazon. You get Amazon, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. You can get it on Amazon. And there's a whole list, a huge list of Elvis' favorite books. So it's listed there as well with the author's name.
Incredible. Which
Yeah.
brings me to my first question. Larry,
Okay.
how did you first started to get into spiritual books? Because you were so young and
I
you read
was.
so much. So
Well,
I wanna understand, like, how did you first become interested?
well, I'll walk you through it briefly. I go into this in the book, obviously. When I was 12 years old, my grandmother was murdered. she was robbed because my grandfather bought her a fur coat, but it wasn't really fur. It was like fake fur. But this robber didn't know it, and she was murdered.
Oh,
And our whole family went berserk. We were just, and my mom, my poor mom, what she had to go through. Fortunately, she met a woman who was like a spiritual guide, a mentor, who introduced her to a whole series of books. And she took my mother to different lectures. And my mom, I was 12 years old at the time, and my twin sisters were like 4. So they didn't know what was happening. So every day my mom would read to me from these books, and they were so interesting. And because she did that, as I started to grow up into a teenager, it allowed me to think for myself and to read. So I started searching for books to read, to find the answers that I was looking for. So that's how I got into it, which led me on a journey that I'm still on today. So um, after I don't know if you are aware of all these Elvis movies. I did Roustabout, Girl Happy, Double Trouble, Paradise Hawaiian, so all those movies. Now, in 1964, the Beatles came on the scene, and that changed our culture. All of a sudden, the Beatles and the Stones and Jerry and the Pacemakers and all these other groups are coming over. And the Beatles are on Ed Sullivan, and they're touring America. And all they wanted to do was meet Elvis.
of course, such fans. I was just there at John Lennon's house, and they had the posters that he had up when he was a teenager, and it was all Elvis.
Exactly. And so many stars today got into music, and they admit it. Elton John, Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, all of them, Mick Jagger, they heard Elvis and they all bought guitars and started playing. Bruce says, when I was 9 years old, I saw Elvis on TV, and I had my mom get me a guitar, and
Me too, I'm a
yeah,
musician too, not on
me
that
too.
scale, but like I got into music because of him too.
Right.
Yeah.
So a meeting was set up at Elvis's home in Bel Air on a Friday night in 1965, in August. The weather was beautiful, warm. I drove up to the house, and on the streets leading to Elvis's house, thousands of people, because the word was leaked out, and everyone knew that Beatles were coming to meet Elvis. This is huge. The media, police, security, people in trees. And I remember driving in, and I'm thinking, the neighbors must be going nuts. They probably hate this. But it's a one-time event. So I get into the house, and all of our entourage is there, all the guys. Elvis and I go into his bathroom so I can do his hair, because the Beatles are going to be there. Beatles will be there any minute. So we sit down in front of that long mirror in the marble edge, and I start to do Elvis's hair. Every day, Elvis, for years, would go by ourselves. I do his hair, and we talk. A minimum for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whether we're at the studio, in the dressing room, at Graceland upstairs, on the plane, wherever we are. And we would talk about everything. But Elvis didn't say a word. He had this faraway look in his eye, and he was very pensive. And I knew what it was. The Beatles are coming. And everyone's talking about the Beatles. And Elvis goes, man, I know where those guys are coming from. I've been there and I've done it. And I respect them for what they're doing. And I love their music. That's what I should be doing. He says, what the hell am I doing with my life? Look at these movies I'm making, Larry. It's the same old movie. All they do is change the character's name and the scenery. It's the same old script. Every movie I do is the same story. It's teeny bopper stuff. This is not real movies. I could do what James Dean did. I can do what Brando did. And they won't give me a chance. They won't give me a chance, Larry. And he was getting so emotional and frustrated. He said, I keep telling the Colonel Parker, Elvis's manager, Colonel, why don't you put me in a real movie? I'm an actor. I'm an actor. This is what I'm born to do. I've got a potential. I have a potential to win an Oscar and to really develop and make some great movies that mean something. He said, I'll always be a singer. Singing is my life's blood, but I'm an actor. How did I even get out of high school? I remember sitting there, I just stare out the window and visualize myself on the big screen, like Tony Curtis and these guys, and being an actor. I got to do something, Larry. I got to do something. And the truth is, I'm embarrassed to go out there tonight. They're coming to meet Elvis Presley. They know the kind of crap movies I'm making. They know what I'm doing, and I don't like it. And I really feel rotten about this. But I've got to go out there and I'm going to meet these guys. But I'm telling you, I've got to do something, Larry. I got to. It's killing me. I owe it to my fans. I owe it to myself. And you know what's happening, Larry? You know what they're doing? They're packaging me. I make a movie, and it makes millions of dollars for the studio. And for every movie, they put an album out. RCA puts an album out, and they sell millions of albums, and they make millions of dollars. Everyone's making money. He said, don't get me wrong. Of course, I'm making money too, but I'm not in this just for the money. He said, okay, man, let's go. Let's go. We got to go out there and meet these guys. So we go in the other room. About 5 minutes later, we heard screaming. Obviously, the Beatles came in with their manager, Brian Epstein. I think they had maybe 2 or 3 people with them, security type. And they all walk in to the den. Everyone stands up, shakes hands. Hi, I'm George. I'm Paul. I'm Elvis. And Elvis sits down in his chair. And John, Paul, Ringo, and George sit down at Elvis's feet on the floor in a semicircle, cross-legged, the 4 of them, like this. They just look, staring. And I've worked with Rock Hudson and Paul Newman and all the Warren Beatty, the most handsome guys in Hollywood. Elvis was a notch above the rest. That's all there's to it. And he looks great in pictures and on TV and video and movies, but in person, there's something else.
I'm so jealous of you, Larry.
Well, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I am. It's beyond luck. It's blessed. I'm blessed. I am.
Part of your destiny.
It is, and I thank God every day. Every day. When I open up my eyes in the morning, first thing I do, thank you for life and for what you've done for me. So these guys are on the floor looking at Elvis, and all of a sudden, the whole room is silent. And if you and I were silent now for 20 seconds, it gets weird. And so Elvis gets up and he says, oh, you guys don't want to talk to me. I'm going to my bedroom. And everyone laughed. And it kind of like broke the ice. And John and Paul jumped up. Elvis, man, you're the man. You are it. You started everything, Elvis. There'd be no Beatles. We would not be here. There'd be no Rolling Stones. There'd be no one, Elvis. You're the guy. We love you so much. That's why I picked up a guitar, man, because of you. And they went and Elvis is all right. He said, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. It was getting a little bit too much, but it was good for Elvis to hear it. It was good for him to hear it because he was so nervous to meet these guys.
Yeah.
And so the night wore on, and I remember Paul said, "Elvis, how do you take all these crowds? They run after us, man. It gets crazy. We get scared." And Elvis said, "If you guys are getting scared, you're in the wrong business." And everyone laughed. So in the big living room, we had a big pool table. So all of our guys went in there with Ringo and George, and they started playing pool. And Colonel Parker and Brian Epstein, they went by themselves to talk. And they left Paul and John and Elvis and Jerry and one other guy and me in the den.
Okay.
And Elvis had a bunch of his guitars on stands. And John said, "Elvis, can I play your guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, pick it up." John picks up a guitar. He starts strumming. That song, Memphis, Tennessee.
By
And then,
Chuck Berry?
pardon?
The Chuck Berry song?
No, they did play a Chuck Berry song, Johnny
Okay.
Be Good, later. That's funny
Oh.
you said that. How did you know that?
I think there's a version of Chuck Berry doing the Memphis, Tennessee song as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Paul picks up. There was a guitar that he could play, and Elvis picked up his Martin guitar. It's called a Martin, and three of them are strumming, and they start singing a little bit.
Incredible.
The infinity of space, in the space-time continuum, I thought at that moment, you, meaning me, are in the greatest place in the universe. There's no better place to be at this moment. I couldn't believe it. It was awesome. And Colonel Parker, by the way, alerted us before they came. No pictures. Which is a whole other story. Colonel Parker
Absolutely.
was a control freak, and he didn't want to lose control. He didn't want them to get pictures of Elvis with them. And at any rate, so there's no record of pictures or recording of these three people playing music.
It's only in your head forever.
Forever. And that's being able to sit there and tell you this and create in your mind and anyone else who's listening these pictures. Wow, I'm carrying it. We're carrying it forward here. So the night wore on, and this is where the story gets very interesting.
Okay.
Now it gets very interesting. The Beatles leave. A week later, we go back. The movie's over that we were working on. We made 3 movies a year. So we'd be in Hollywood for 3 months. Then we go back to Memphis for 3 months and kick back. When we made movies, we had to get up, like 6 in the morning because we had to be at that studio. Elvis had to be in the chair for makeup and hair at 8 o'clock. And we did this for years. And so we went to bed reasonably early enough. But when we went back to Memphis, we stayed up all night. We went to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning.
When you guys went back to Memphis, were you living with him at Graceland, or did you have a place?
Do what?
Were you living with him at Graceland whenever you went to Memphis?
Oh, yeah. What happened was, I'll tell you about the first trip. We went back to Memphis, and I had a room. There was a room, several rooms, and one I slept. But I was married and I had children. I'm not leaving my family for 3 months. So I stayed there for a week until I found an apartment and had my family fly out. And we had an apartment across the street from Graceland and another time around the corner. So, but every time we went, that was my room at Graceland.
Oh, where
So,
was your room at Graceland, if I may know?
yes, I don't know if you know that. Do you know where the pool room is, with the pool table?
Yes, downstairs.
There's downstairs. There's a room, and that was the room I stayed in.
Okay, I always wanted to know this.
Yeah. All right. So we get in Elvis's Dodge mobile home, because Elvis wouldn't fly in those days. He was kind of frightened of flying. So we would drive across country on Route 66, which, by the way, is about 45 minutes from where I'm sitting right now, right up the road here. I'm
Oh,
in
wow.
northern Arizona in the mountains. Flagstaff is right up there, Route 66. So I would always sit shotgun, next to Elvis when he drove, a couple guys behind us in the cab, and about 3 or 4 vehicles of the guys with equipment, Elvis's wardrobe. So 4 or 5 vehicles driving across country. We were right up here. It was about 1, 2 in the morning, pitch dark. In those days, forget cell phones. We didn't even have CDs in those days. We had 8-track cartridge. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Those
Yeah,
were
yeah.
so cool.
But that's all we had, but they were great.
And what were you guys listening to? Do you remember
So
any tape
uh,
that you guys liked?
here's what happened. Elvis loved Roy Orbison. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
What a great, Elvis thought he had the best voice of anyone. So he had the cartridge, and he put it in. We're sitting there, and Roy starts singing. It's coming through, and all of a sudden he starts singing "Only the Lonely." You know the song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Elvis starts to sing with him. I'm sitting there spellbound. Elvis is singing with Roy, those two voices together. I don't have the syntax. I don't have the language to describe my experience. You can imagine. The song's over. Elvis turns down the volume so the next song doesn't come on. He says, I got it, Lawrence. I got it. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a gospel album. Not Colonel Parker, not RCA Victor. They can put it out, but no one's going to tell me what to do. This is my album. I'm going to select every song myself. And I just know, Rosanna, he was so flashed by the Beatles. He got so frustrated. He can't do a movie outside of the contracts that he had, because he had many he had to make, not the ones he wanted to make. But now he's going to do something on his own, which is beautiful. Thank God. And you know what? This album became How Great Thou Art, where he won the
3
Grammy,
Grammys. Yeah.
and just because of the Beatles. That's how I see it. He was so flashed that he had to do something. He got so angry, and it was eating in him. It was eating him up. So over the next months, Elvis listened to hundreds and hundreds of music from the olden days, from the 40s and the 50s, of all the Black groups and gospel and Jubilee groups. And he selected those 12 songs that are going to go on the album. Now it's 1966, around May, I think it was, April, May. We left Memphis and drove to Nashville, to where RCA Victor Studios were, to record the album. So we go to this motel, and we're all in Elvis's big suite, and we're getting ready to go to the studio only at night. Only Elvis will record only at night. And Elvis said to the guys, listen, you guys go downstairs to the cars. I'll be down in a few minutes. Larry and I have to talk. This happened a lot, which is another story. So they leave. And Elvis said, Larry, I'm going to tell you something. I am not using this voice that I've been given to go and sing God's music. This is not rock and roll music. This isn't that music they feed me to sing for movies. This isn't movie music. This is God's music. So what I'm getting at is, until my ego is out of the way, until I can get in touch with that still small voice within me, till I'm ready and I'm clear, I'm not getting out of this chair. Turn the lights down, man. Let's say a prayer. Let's meditate. And that's what we did. We said a beautiful prayer, each of us, and we meditated in real time, 12, 13 minutes. And all of a sudden I heard Elvis say, oh no, Elvis said, all right, I'm ready. And I want you to know something. You know as well as I do, God works in mysterious ways. We don't know who's going to hear this music. And if one person is touched, then I've done my job. Let's hit it, man. Let's go. We go to the studio, and those songs didn't take many takes. It just flowed. The books have been written about that session in Nashville, and all the musicians, everyone knew something special was happening. And Elvis won the Grammy for this. 10 years later,
That's an incredible experience. And I love how you describe the process of Elvis being connected to his idea of God, which makes me wonder, could you describe for me, or like in your opinion, in your perspective, what was Elvis's belief or idea or concept of God or a higher power?
Okay, let me just finish the story, which will be a segue right into your wonderful question.
All right.
Your significant question. We're on tour 10 years later. We were in Hollywood, Florida, which is right outside of, I think, Miami. And we drive up to the Hilton Hotel, and our security people took Elvis in right away, got him upstairs to the suite. I walk in with my luggage, and there were how many fans? 1,000, 2,000, I don't know. They're everywhere. And everywhere we go, there's always that same group of fans. And there's this one girl I used to see, and she was standing there. And as I'm walking in, she said, "Hi, Larry." She even knew my name. She was such a fan. I didn't know her. She had Elvis, Elvis, Elvis on her sleeve, on her jeans, on her cap, Elvis, Elvis. So I go up to my room and I unpack, and I go downstairs to get some food before I have to go up to be with Elvis. And I see her, and I called her over, and I invited her to sit with me. She got all nervous and everything. And I said, and her name was, I said, "What is your name?" "Darlene." And I said, "Darlene, the reason I want to talk to you is I'd like to know your story. I see you everywhere we go, and you're covered with Elvis buttons and pins and patches." And she proceeded to tell me her story. And I want you to know she was beautiful, a beautiful, angelic face with big blue eyes and blonde hair. But it was obvious from the waist down that she was challenged. And she told me when she was 9 years old, she fell down a flight of stairs and broke her spine in many places and one of her legs. And growing up, she was in the hospital half of the time, surgeries, drugs, shots, pain, no life, no friends. And she said, "Larry, look at me. I'll never have children. I'll never be married." I mean, I got to a point I couldn't take it. And I wrote a note to my family. I had all the pills I wanted, any kind I want for the pain. It was on my nightstand, and the radio was on, and all of a sudden I heard Elvis Presley singing How Great Thou Art. I don't know what happened, Larry. All I know is something came over me. I fell down on the floor, hysterically crying. I couldn't stop crying, and I was filled with this. It was God. It was God, Larry. And he wanted me to live for Elvis. He wanted me to take care of Elvis. And that's why I'm here. Wherever Elvis is, I go. I want to be there for him. And I thought what Elvis said, 10 years, if I one life, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, over the years, I've heard so many people tell me their experiences of that album. But this one, like, hit home. I said, Darlene, what you're telling me is incredible. And I told her what Elvis said. And she started crying. I said, but look, I know Elvis is waiting for me. So I have to go up and I'm going to tell him about you. She said, you're going to tell Elvis about me? And she went nuts. Anyway, I go upstairs. And as I'm telling you this right now, in my mind's eye, I can see Elvis standing there. He was he was on the top of the Hilton suite, penthouse. And he was looking down through the blind of all the fans downstairs that were up, pointing up to Elvis. They knew where Elvis's room was. And he's they had no idea he was looking at him. I said, Elvis, I got to tell you something, man. He turns around and I tell him what just happened with Darlene. He just froze and tears in his eyes. He said, Larry, you have no idea how I needed to hear that. Because Elvis was going through so much towards the end of his life. A book was coming out that was going to crucify him, and he knew it. He knew they were going to. He knew there. Elvis, what happened?
Oh, yeah.
From the bodyguards, and he knew they were going to exaggerate and put things out of proportion. He was going through physical things, so it really helped him tremendously to hear this. But now, I want to answer your question about, and I was not going to tell you this because I never talk about this, but it is in my book. I had to lay it out.
Okay.
All right. So you'll see when you read it. It is just very far out. Very far out. Elvis is reading book after book after book. Back in 1964 now. That's where we are. And he's reading about Judaism and Christianity. He's reading about meditation and what the Hindus think and what those people think. And he's reading about all these different mentors, spiritual leaders, rabbis, gurus, and they all tell about their experience with God. Because all these people that started religions had a personal relationship with God in their own way. God manifests differently to everyone. So we had to get out to Hollywood to make a movie. So we left Memphis, and Elvis is driving. I'm sitting next to him. The same bit. The car's following us. We're driving through Arkansas, through Oklahoma, through the panhandle of Texas, through New Mexico. Now we're into Arizona. We've been traveling for a couple of days and we're tired, but we have to get back because there's a recording session for the movie, for the soundtrack. But we had to be back at a certain time. So we're driving all night, all day, and Elvis doesn't like driving during the day because people recognize him and they would want honking, and he didn't want any of that. But we had to get back. We're in the Arizona desert, about 100 miles from where I am right now. And the sky, it was beautiful blue, radiant blue. And it was very, very clear. And the sun was going down, and the rays of the sun were hitting the Hopi Mountains up here. And all of a sudden, there was a cloud in the sky. And Elvis says to me, Lawrence, look, do you see what I see? And these are exact words. Do you see what I see? And I look. I said, yeah. And I saw the face of Joseph Stalin with those eyebrows and the mustache and that perfect hairline. And it was obvious. And Elvis is looking and I'm looking, and all of a sudden the cloud starts to diffuse. And now I'm looking at a puffy cloud. But for a moment, that face was there. And all of a sudden, I heard Elvis go, like that. He kind of gulped. And I look, and I don't know what's going on. There's something. He pulls the bus over. He says, Lawrence, come with me. We run into the desert. It happened. It happened. It happened. It happened, Lawrence. I said, what? What happened? He said, you saw that face of Joseph Stalin? I said, yeah, I saw it. He said, so did I. Larry, I've been praying to God recently. God, how come I don't have an experience? Touch me. I don't care how you do it. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes. And we were in the car driving all day. I said, Lord, please show me the truth. I want to see the truth. And all of a sudden, I see a picture of Joseph Stalin. He was the most evil son of a bitch. He killed more people than Hitler. He was pure evil. I'm thinking, is God telling me something about me? And all of a sudden, Larry, a lightning bolt shot out of that cloud and hit me in the chest, and my heart exploded in my whole body. I felt it in every atom and cell of my body. Now I don't have to believe in God anymore. Now I know. God is love, Larry. God is love. I was filled with love that I've never felt in my life. He's in me. He's in you. He's in everyone. He's in trees. He's in animals. He's in nature. He's in heaven. He's in things that go beyond our understanding. God is the mystery of creation. And he's love, Larry. God is love. Now, that's my answer to your question. And
What
it's
an
the best.
incredible experience to be there and presence his spiritual awakening like this.
It was an awakening that had a profound effect upon Elvis. And by the way, the album How Great Thou Art happened after this.
Oh,
Yes. And a lot of things happened because of this experience. Elvis wanted to quit show business after this. He wanted to quit. And we just hope we don't. I'm looking at the time and everything. There's a story I want to tell you.
all right.
If I may?
Of course. Go
Okay.
ahead.
There's so many, but I want to say this one for a personal reason. About 5, 6 years ago, a major music producer that everyone knows came out with an article, an interview that was in an article that went on the newswire, on the internet, everywhere. And he said Elvis was a racist, which is so, so far from the truth. One day at Graceland, this is back in the 60s, and every day hundreds of letters would pour in from everywhere in the world to Graceland. It would be the envelope would be addressed with Elvis's address, or just Graceland, or just the name Elvis. But the post office, they knew. They brought it all over in bags. So one afternoon, Elvis and I went outside of Graceland to the office where his father and the secretaries were, and there was a stack of letters, and Elvis grabbed a stack. We went back upstairs because I'm going to do his hair. There was a upstairs of Graceland is Elvis's bedroom, and an office, and a conference room, and the bathroom, and another room where we would go every day. I would do his hair. We'd rap and talk and read books and have a blast. Elvis started reading some fan letters, and he's laughing, and some are funny, some are a little risque. And all of a sudden he says, "Oh no, this Pearl girl, man, she's got it all wrong. She's got it all wrong. No way." He listen to this. "Elvis, I love you. You're the greatest star in the world. I know every one of your songs. I know every lyric. You created rock and roll." And I said, "No, no, 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 no. I don't want anyone to think that. I did not create rock and roll." I know a lot of people might think that. Let me tell you how it really started. It started way, way back in the old days, not too far from here, right out there in the Mississippi Delta. When those slaves, man, those poor old slaves, what they had to go through, the way they lived, and with those slave masters, those sons of bitches, what they did to these slaves, they would whip them until they bled. Some of them bled to the death right there in the fields. They would rape the women. They would kill. They tortured them. I've been told stories, Larry, you wouldn't believe. And these slaves would get up before the sun came up, and they go into the fields and pick cotton. And you know how they got through it? You know how they made it? They sang. It was music from their guts, from their soul. They would be crying to God and making up music as they went along. They would sing together in unison all day long and crying, and it got them through it. Music is what got them through it. Music is all about God. And the white people picked up on it, got some of their music and went to the white churches, and their music spread over the years. It went down to New Orleans and honky tonk, up to Chicago, and the blues started and went into New York. And over all the years came down to us in our time that we know is rhythm and blues. And all I did was, I'm a lucky guy, man. All I did was hand over their music to a white audience. I'm just lucky, Larry. I'm just lucky, man. It's them. They're the ones who created it.
He was so aware. So
So
beautiful.
aware. But one other thing, Rosanna, humble. And I'm telling you, there are certain people that know this, and this is history. These are the facts. And they would say the same thing, and it would say, all right, I put my spin on it, and I brought it into this kind of music, and me, 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 me. Elvis took the I and the me out of it. No, man, them, it's them, came from them. So there's some humility in this as well. Yeah, he was very aware.
Yeah, and it also, you can see that by, if you ask B.B. King, he has quotes on it, Little Richard. They are all thankful to Elvis because before him, people would not listen to their
That's
music.
right. By the way,
yeah.
I was Little Richard's manager for about a month.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
And,
Please tell me about that.
well, there wasn't too much because I couldn't keep up with his people and his group and their lifestyle and what they were doing. Richard was a good guy. I loved Richard, but his lifestyle was too fast paced, and I didn't have it within me to be of any help for him. So I had to walk away from it. Um, Elvis was very good friends with James Brown, the king of soul. James Brown. When
Yeah.
Elvis, well, okay, because of our timing, and we could do this again some other time, but I want to take you to the end.
Okay, go ahead.
A couple of hours before Elvis passed away, I did his hair. I mean, I didn't do his hair. He wanted me to. I said, let's do it tomorrow. Get some rest, Elvis. We're going on tour tomorrow. And so I gave him a book to read. And that's the one he died reading. So that next day, his father asked me to go to the mortuary to do Elvis's hair. And this is how my book starts. So I'm not going to talk about it. It's very heavy. And I'm not going to sit there and cry. I don't want to. I don't want to.
Okay.
It's very, very, very emotional. And that several hours with him in the mortuary has not left me. It imprinted something. Anyway, I'm standing above Elvis, and he had a white sheet. So right away, you're getting emotional yourself. You have
Yeah.
to. All right. And I'm looking at that face, that face. And I'm thinking, it will never sing. It will never sing again. And memories started flooding my mind when I first met Elvis as a kid at the Pan Pacific Auditorium. And many things over the years are flooding me, and I have to do my work. And I noticed he had, we were on hiatus for about 6 weeks. So I would dye, everyone knows I dyed Elvis's hair black. So he had a regrowth of white hair, about this much, half an inch.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't bring my dyes. I was in shock. And there was a female mortician. And I said, do you have your mascara? And I was, oh God, I was black. It better be black or I'm in trouble. And it was. And in those days, it was a teeny weeny brush. That's what women use for mascara. Today, it's a wand and it's all these other apparatuses for mascara. It was a brush. I spit. I smeared it. I kind of faked the whole thing. No one ever knew it. But as I'm doing it, I'm thinking of all of these wonderful times, interesting times, emotional. And all of a sudden, one memory just like plop, just stayed there. About in the 1960s, one afternoon, like every afternoon, refreshment. I walk upstairs to Elvis's bedroom because we're going to go and do his hair. I walk into his bedroom. He's sitting on the edge of the bed. And when you know someone, you know their body language. And I knew right away, uh-oh, something's up. He's waving a movie magazine with his picture on the cover. He's crying. It was taken from a movie or some whatever. He said, Larry, you won't believe this, man. And he opens it up and he starts to read. Elvis still in deep grief over his mother's death. He said, oh, man, look what that. What are they? Look what these people are doing. Look, I know they have to earn a living. You know, and some of them are very good journalists, but some of them, they go a little too far. He says, listen to this. And he starts to read. Elvis' family and friends are very, very worried because they hear Elvis crying up in his room in the wee hours of the morning, pacing back and forth, crying out to his mother. Elvis said, oh man, that's terrible to do that. Look, that happened 8 years ago. You can't ever get over something like that. But I come to terms with it, Larry. I've come to terms with it. My mother was the light of my life. Look what happened to me back then. I came on the scene overnight. It was like an explosion, man. Like I was a shooting star. Gold record after gold record. I'm on the Ed Sullivan show. I'm on the Milton Berle show. I'm starring in my own movie. I'm 21 years old. All this happened within a year. Everything. I become rich. My career took off. It was fantastic. My wildest imaginations didn't think of what happened to me. I bought Graceland for my mom. I bought her jewelry, furs, pink Cadillac, everything, whatever I can do for her. She was the only one I could ever go to, no matter what. And you know what happened?
What happened?
They brought the curtain down, Elvis said. Everything came to an end. They drafted me in the Army. Everything has to come to a dead stop. And I didn't have to go in like other people. They offered me a deal where I can go to all the bases around the world and sing and be Elvis Presley. And no way, I said, no way. I'm like everyone else. I love my country, and I'm going to do what every other guy does. No special treatment for me. And he says, you know that picture, Larry? I know you've seen it. Everyone has seen it. I'm sitting in the barber chair, and they buzz my hair off and I got this big silly ass grin on my face. I was dying inside. My hair, Larry. It was my hair. I couldn't believe what I was going through. Then it happened. The shock of my life. It was all over. My mom died on me. You realize this, Larry? I become Elvis Presley, and then they draft me, and my mom died. That was it. People have no idea what I went through. And then you know what they did? They shipped my butt half around the world to Germany. I go to bed at night. I talk to God. God, why me? Why me? Why? Why did you do this? He said, there's times I doubted that there was a God. But I used to remember my mom used to say to me, because I would ask her all the time, Mom, tell me about my twin brother. Tell me about Jesse. And she'd say, honey, Jesse went back to heaven because God had a plan for Jesse. It was God's doing. God wanted him back because God has a plan for everyone. He has a plan for Daddy. He'll take Daddy back someday. And honey, someday he'll take me back. And in the future, way, way, many, many, many years from now, he'll take you back. And someday we'll all be back together someday. Someday and we'll all be in heaven together. And Elvis looked at me and he said, Larry, that's exactly what I think. Exactly. We're all going home someday. And that's what happened to me when I was doing Elvis's hair. And the next day at the funeral, when the services were over, Elvis was lying in a coffin and everyone left except for his father and Joe Esposito and George Klein and Jerry Schilling, Sam Tom, and the guys that work for him. And Joe Esposito took the ring off Elvis's finger. It was a gold TCP ring, handed it to Mr. Presley, Elvis's dad. And his father screamed, I'll be with you soon, son. I'll be with you. It was so emotional. And the funeral director said, I'm sorry, but we're on schedule. We got to close the coffin. And I looked at Mr. Presley and he wasn't going to do anything. And this is the last time anyone would ever see Elvis. He was lying there, serene, this beautiful face. And I purposely put my hand in, and I wanted to be the last person to ever touch him. And I did. Put my hand on his forehead, and I said something silently, put my hand out, and they closed the lid. So, Rosanna, I'm not going to leave you now on this note because
It was
it's
so touching. Thank you so much for telling me this story.
Elvis had a death. A lot of people say, well, Frank Sinatra was the greatest star, or Michael Jackson was the greatest star. He was hands down, Elvis the greatest who ever lived. Every record in show business is broken by Elvis. Who sold more records than albums? Elvis, to this day.
Yeah.
And his movies made more money than the movies that were made in the 60s. His movies made it possible for Hal Wallace to make other movies. The United States Postal Stamp, they issue stamps over the years since 1780 something. The Elvis stamp is the biggest selling stamp of all time, in the billion, more than any other stamp. More books have been written about Elvis than anyone else in America, except for Abraham Lincoln and Kennedy, the presidents. But any sports singer, movie star. But here's the kicker. This will tell you. You can't, none of us could name one person who, on the night of their death, has a candlelight vigil where tens of thousands of people come. I was there when there was 100,000 people, 100,000 people standing in line when it got dark. Everyone has a candle, single file. Elvis's love songs, gospel music playing from 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock the next morning. And people walk through up to his gravesite, not because he's a movie star or a singer or a philanthropist, or it's something else. It's something very, very spiritual and sacred.
Absolutely.
And everyone feels it. You know, people say to me all the time, hey, so what was he like? What kind of guy was Elvis? And I say to them, you really want to know? Just put on his music and listen to him sing. Listen to that voice. If you're in a bad mood, if you're hurting, you need a healing, listen to Elvis' music for 15, 20 minutes. When you're through, you'll be in a different place.
That's
Something
so
will
true.
happen. Elvis is a healer. And we're not going to go into now, but Elvis used to do spiritual healing on people. That's what he's doing with his life, his spirit. Now, that's what this is all about. Not this voice who is heard more than any other voice that ever lived, who reached into the heart of humanity and gently squeezed it, did something, and 500 years from now, there'll be Elvis statues. They'll be talking about Elvis Presley, not any of the stars today. No. So on that note, Rosanna, I'm going to say thank you so much for getting in touch. We're now friends.
Thank you
And if
so
you ever,
much, Larry. It was so beautiful to hear all your stories.